So our next to last item is we're going to start with something that will have an arc and take us all the way through to March 6th. And that is that we're about to hear more about a diocesan-wide campaign, 1,000 Days of Love, a project that focuses on early childhood development in developing countries. And many of you will remember our campaign years ago, Nets for Life, through the Episcopal Relief and Development, how much fun we had, how much we raised money that we knew was saving lives. What's better than having fun as well as changing lives and feeling even more connected in a common endeavor? So it's my privilege to introduce two people. First, Josephine Hicks, who is one of our own. She is at St. Peter's in Charlotte, but she's also a vice president for Episcopal Relief and Development. So she lives in Charlotte, but the globe is her domain. But our own local ERD representative is Deacon Louise Anderson, who is heading up the diocesan-wide campaign that connects us with the church-wide campaign. So, and then Louise will be able to introduce the committee that's overseeing this. But it's the gift giving season. And if you're into alternative gift fairs and ways that you can honor your family members by giving to others, this has all kinds of potential. So Josephine, it is over to you.
Thank you, Bishop Ann, and thank all of you for having me with you today to talk with you at the end of this long and wonderful day about hope and love and children. As Bishop Ann said, Episcopal Relief and Development has launched a campaign called 1,000 Days of Love to expand our global programs with children. So why children? And what's the deal about 1,000 days? Well, research shows that the first 1,000 days of a child's life set a really critical foundation for that child's ability to grow and thrive throughout his or her lifetime. We also know from research that brains are developed, not born. And if a child during those critical formative years doesn't receive appropriate nutrition, nurture, health care, intellectual stimulation, that child's brain growth is literally stunted, which makes it virtually impossible for that child to catch up. So if we can invest in children during that critical formative period, we can not only transform the life of that child, we can transform their communities for decades to come, because 15 to 20 years from now, those children will be healthy, productive adults who are contributing to their communities. Episcopal Relief and Development works with global partners to implement a community-led, holistic approach to address the interrelated needs of families with young children: parenting, nutrition, health, food security, and livelihoods. And let me underscore the words community-led. I was really interested in how often in the last conversation of groups reporting back, people talked about the importance of agency and dignity and cultural sensitivity to everything we do. And that underscores everything we do at Episcopal Relief and Development. Everything about what we do is done in an asset-based community development model and is all about helping communities tap into their own capacity to make change happen for themselves. And as Bishop Ann mentioned the Nets for Life campaign a few years ago, one of the features of that campaign was that community volunteers actually delivered nets to people's homes to make sure they knew how to use them, and then they went back to be sure they were still being used. And that model of community volunteers going into homes is critical to our global work with children. Community volunteers go into the homes and meet with caregivers every month to facilitate conversations about all of these issues and make certain that children are getting everything they need to thrive. But rather than having me tell you more about that, I want you to hear from one of those community volunteers. Her name is Catherine. She lives in Zambia, and Christine's going to have her speak to you now.
kiraba ekikankala ndomfuamu ekinani kirumbanga kwikala n'amafamilies ayengi n'amaneighborhood fira tutashani tule mfwana bena tufule bonse tutashani tulesungana pamo nefyakula fira omukulya namwikala abengi n'okusungishanya n'abantu bambi nabena fira kati nabo kuba koseresha akuna byatama neighborhood nabena mutashani nabena mfule mutashani mule mfwana nabena.
The program focuses on the development of a child. And in this, we are looking at 4 pillars that will help the child grow and the caregiver for the child also. And at the same time, the program focuses on the entire community.
Sana nalitemo sana kai sana fie. I like it very much. Kuma caregivers nabenda ndapira ko tati batwele spirit ine so pantu babo tukumanya abantu bali ba vulnerable sana. Most of them they are vulnerable. So chawa mabena bakwata spirit isuma bane bakoselesha no tukula abasasukira ngo basanga panga ndala pala mbata ine shafike po panga ndafiria tachimoneka bwino kuba koselesha no kubalanga love no kwata patience na bena ndaba papira kokwe bati bakakule bwino abene bakayikalire ingefu nayikala naine tekwataka bombe na machito even garden work kuti bachita kuti bayikalira mu bwino ila bani prayer yandi. That is my prayer.
Thank you, Christine. The goal of our campaign at large through Episcopal Relief and Development is to expand the program to reach 100,000 children by the end of the campaign. Here in the Diocese of North Carolina, as Bishop Ann said, the campaign is going to run through the seasons of Advent, Christmas, and Epiphany, which are such a perfect time to think about children and all that God dreams for all children. It also gives our congregations a way to focus on something outward in a year that's naturally been very focused inward. We can help transform the lives of children from around the world, from right here in North Carolina and right here in our homes. Participating in 1,000 Days of Love also lives into our commitment to beloved communities where everyone experiences dignity and abundance of life and sees themselves and others as children of God. Thank you to Louise and your committee for spearheading this campaign. Thank you for your leadership. Louise sent congregations a letter earlier this week. I hope you'll all take a look at those letters. If you haven't seen them, ask someone in your congregation to find that letter. It came by email. Our goal in the diocese is $198,000, which represents $15 times each person who is part of our average Sunday attendance across the diocese. $15 is the cost of a package to nurture children in our Gifts for Life catalog. So for $15, each one of us can transform the life of a child. And if we reach our diocesan goal, we can transform the lives of over 13,000 children and their communities for decades to come. A new campaign webpage has been set up on the diocesan website, and it has links to terrific Advent resources from Episcopal Relief and Development that will engage children and families with Advent and with thinking about children. Worship resources you can use to kick off a campaign or to celebrate during the campaign. A donation page specific for our diocese, a link to our Gifts for Life catalog, in which a number of the gifts are marked 1,000 Days of Love, and those gifts will count toward the campaign. You can also make a donation directly at episcopalrelief.org or write a check to Episcopal Relief and Development. Whatever you do to donate, thank you. And one other logistical note, whatever you do to donate, please make a note either on the memo line of your check or in the organization box or a comment section of an online donation to make a note of your congregation and city and diocese. So, excuse me, so that we can track it and be sure our diocese and your congregation gets credit for it. So thank you again. In closing, I'd like for you to hear from our #1 advocate for the 1,000 Days of Love campaign, that is Presiding Bishop Michael Curry.
Hello. 1,000 Days of Love is an effort on the part of Episcopal Relief and Development to garner resources and to focus intensively on the needs of children up to the age of 6. These are critical years in child development, and Episcopal Relief and Development has committed its energies and its priorities to working with children and helping them to grow into the fullness of life that God intends for every child. As we save children, we save ourselves. We save our world. There's a story in the Bible of a time when children were endangered. It's found in the book of Exodus. It's in the days of the slavery of the Hebrews in Egypt. And there was a Pharaoh who determined that the best way that he could bring the Hebrew slaves into submission was by executing Hebrew baby boys as soon as they were born into this world. And he mounted a campaign to take the lives, to kill children. A group of women organized under the leadership of midwives like a woman named Shipra and another one named Puah. And these women organized to save as many babies as they could. The way the biblical writer tells the story, this story is told as the preface to saving one of those babies. One of those babies saved in that context was a baby drawn from the river, a baby who was watched over by his sister Miriam, a baby whose mother had put him on the river, hoping and praying that somebody would find him and save him. And indeed, it was actually a compassionate woman who was related to the Pharaoh, a princess of Egypt, who defied the decree of the Pharaoh and saved a baby boy. And that woman, together with his birth mother, helped to raise that child. And the name of that child was Moses. And that child would lead the Hebrews, and indeed the Pharaoh's own daughter, who saved his life. He would lead them to freedom. As we save children, we save the world. We save ourselves. This campaign, this effort, is about saving the world by saving and making a difference in the lives of the children of the world. Do all you can, and thank you, and God bless you.
And not that anybody really wants to follow Bishop Curry, but Louise Anderson, who is our Episcopal Relief and Development Coordinator for the Diocese of North Carolina, is going to add a few words, especially about her committee and how they can be in touch with the committee.
No, I definitely don't want to follow Bishop Curry.
Sorry.
I just want to introduce my committee, and my committee is Mark Landers, Nancy Vaders, Alice Freeman, Amanda Stevenson, Caleb Tabor, and Mears Pitt. I would like to give you my email address if you need to contact somebody, especially if you didn't receive the letter that I sent out this past weekend. And my email address is LT.Anderson, and then the number 1 at gmail.com. And I am available for any questions. I am happy to do a video talk or live stream with your congregations if you would like about this, and answer any of your questions.
Thanks, Louise, and thanks, Josephine. Back to you, Bishop Sam.